She spent our rent on a luxury trip and laughed when I said she'd have to leave. But when moving day came, she was crying, clinging to my arm, and begging me to let her stay. I'm 34, and for a long time I really believed that moving in with my girlfriend, Kayla, who was 29, was going to be the next big and beautiful step in our relationship. We had been together for 2 years, spent almost every weekend at each other's apartments, and shared countless nights falling asleep on each other's couches. I thought sharing one apartment would not only save us money but also bring us closer as a couple. At the time, Kayla had recently left what she called a soul-sucking job. She told me she wanted to focus on her art for a while, saying she needed space to breathe and a chance to create without the pressure of a 9-to-5 routine. I told her that was fine and that I could cover most of the bills until she got back on her feet. I honestly believed she was worth that investment. She was my partner, and I wanted to support her dreams. The first month of living together was nice. She cooked dinner every now and then, rearranged the living room to make it feel more like us, and even bought a few plants for the windowsill. She seemed grateful for everything I was doing, and I was happy to help. But as the weeks went on, little cracks started to show. She would borrow my debit card to get groceries, and come home with expensive boutique shopping bags instead. Our utility bills suddenly doubled because she liked running the heat with the windows wide open for fresh air. When I gently brought these things up, she would brush them off like I was being controlling or overreacting. Then came the moment that changed everything. 2 weeks ago, our rent was due. Kayla's share was $900, and she told me her bank card was acting up, so she needed the cash to drop off at the landlord's office herself. I didn't think twice about it. I handed her the money, trusting her completely. A few days later, I got a notice from the landlord saying that the rent was short. Confused, I asked Kayla about it, thinking maybe there had been a simple mix-up. She didn't look guilty or apologetic. Instead, she just shrugged like it was no big deal and said, "Relax, I'll pay it next week." I used the money for a quick trip to Miami with my friends. It was a mental health thing. I just stared at her. She had taken our rent money and used it for a vacation. And when I pointed that out, she rolled her eyes and said, "You act like you don't make enough to cover it yourself. You should be grateful you have me. Most guys would kill to date me." That one sentence hit me harder than anything else she had done. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't embarrassed. She truly believed she was doing me a favor just by being there. And that's when it clicked for me. This wasn't about the $900 anymore. This was about the fact that she saw me as a safety net, not a partner. I had been paying most of the bills, picking up the slack, and giving her the time and space she said she needed to focus on her art. And she repaid that trust by treating my support like a piggy bank she could crack open whenever she felt like it. She must have noticed my silence because she smirked and asked, "What? You're not actually mad, are you?" I didn't answer her directly. I just nodded slowly and walked away, already thinking about my next move. I didn't want a long, dramatic breakup full of empty promises. I wanted her out calmly, cleanly, and without any chance for her to twist the story into me being the bad guy. The next morning, I pulled out my lease and read it carefully. I already knew she wasn't on it. She had never been added as a tenant. There were no rent receipts with her name, no official paperwork, nothing. Legally, she was just a guest I had been supporting. That realization made everything very simple. I printed out a written notice giving her 7 days to vacate and taped it to the fridge, right between a flamingo magnet and a takeout menu she liked. I didn't say anything when I heard her in the kitchen later that day. A few minutes later, she walked into the living room holding the paper and laughing like it was a joke. "You're not actually kicking me out," she said. "Where would I even go?" I didn't look up from my phone. "Maybe back to Miami. I hear it's warm this time of year." Her smile dropped for a moment, but she quickly slipped back into that familiar tone, half amused, half annoyed, and said, "You're serious?" "Completely," I said. The rest of the day, she acted like nothing had happened. She sat on the couch, scrolling through Instagram and working on her art. I didn't argue. I didn't nag. I just started ordering boxes and packing tape from Amazon. By Friday, I had a plan. She was going out that night with friends and wouldn't be back until late. As soon as the door shut behind her, I got to work. I packed every piece of her clothing, every bottle of makeup, every piece of random decor she had bought. I even bagged up her half-empty bottles of shampoo. I labeled every box so she couldn't claim I had lost anything. I stacked them neatly by the front door, not dumped in a heap, not stuffed in garbage bags, but packed carefully, like it was a moving day for someone I still respected. Because this wasn't about humiliating her. It was about making it clear that this was final. When I was done, I sat on the couch and looked around the apartment. It was quieter, cleaner. It already felt more like my home again. When the day finally came, she still thought I was bluffing. She walked into the apartment after work, humming like everything was fine, only to find the living room filled with cardboard boxes. I had spent the entire day packing every single thing that belonged to her. Clothes folded neatly, shoes lined up, makeup bags zipped, even the little trinkets she kept on the coffee table. I didn't throw anything away or damage anything because I wanted her to see I was serious without being petty. She stopped in the middle of the room, her smile dropping instantly. "What is this?" she asked, her voice sharp, like I was playing some kind of joke she didn't find funny. I looked at her and said calmly, "Your things are ready. You have until tonight to take them." That's when her confidence cracked. She let out a short, nervous laugh, shaking her head as if I had just told her I was moving to Mars. "Come on, you're not actually kicking me out. You said you'd never do that," she said, almost sounding like she was trying to convince herself more than me. I told her, "That was before you took the rent money and spent it on a vacation with your friends. That was before you put me in a position where I had to borrow money from my brother just to keep a roof over our heads. You crossed a line." For the first time, she didn't have a quick comeback. She just stared at the boxes, then at me, her mouth opening and closing like she wanted to argue but couldn't find the words. Then it happened. She sat down on the couch, put her head in her hands, and begged, "Please, don't do this. I'll pay you back. I'll change. I'll even cancel my next trip. Just don't throw me out like this." Her voice was shaky, and I could hear the panic rising in every word. She tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled away. I told her, "This isn't about the money anymore. This is about respect, and you lost mine." By evening, she had called 2 of her friends to help her carry her things out. She didn't look at me much while she was packing the last few items, but every so often, she'd glance over as if hoping I'd change my mind. I didn't. The door closed behind her, and the apartment felt quiet, peaceful, even. For the first time in months, I could breathe without feeling like I was living with a storm that could blow up at any moment.